We want to be able to think to the future. And also, we want repetition. Repetition of the way that we do things. Consistent, predictable, repetitious quality. Quality not only in product, but quality in the relationships that we have. Now, I believe that when you look at an organisation, what you're actually looking at is a link of chains that work together. How many of you guys do work that affects other people in the organisation? How many of you do that? I would suggest the majority of you. You actually do work for other people, don't you? You work for the company, but you do things for others. How many of you have other people doing stuff that affects your job? Of course we do. We find ourselves in this chain. And if the chain isn't strong, it breaks down, and that's when a lot of problems occur in organisations. We've got to be able to trust the people that are doing things for us, and we've got to be able to be trusted by the people that we do things for. What does it hold us together? This whole idea of trust. Now, a great example of this connection that you have in organisations is the relay. How many of you have been watching the Olympics? Did you watch much of the Olympics? Yeah, track and field is the only bit that I was particularly interested in. But a great example of the way organisations work, I think, is this idea of passing the baton in the relay race. Now, do you know who won the 100 metres? Any ideas? Bolt won the 100 metres, didn't he? Yeah, do you know his time? 9.69. This is the guy I'm talking about. This is what most people would believe in an organisation as a peak performer. Yeah? This is the world record holder at doing his job. At that moment in time, he did it better than anybody else in the world. How many of you guys would like to think of yourselves as peak performers? When you look at yourself in the mirror, when you look at what you do you say to yourself, I do a good job? Let's try it the other way around. How many of you get up in the morning, look in the mirror and say, today I'm going to do the crappiest job possible? Nobody, of course. We all want to do a good job. And this guy is a peak performer. On a time of 9.69, I'll write this up. The 100 metres, he did in a time of 9.69. Yeah? World record holder. Now, he also ran, not just in the 100 metres, he also ran in the 400 metres. How did the guys do in that? They won that as well. Yeah, the Jamaicans are pretty fast at the moment. Now, the time for the 400 metres, this is Bolt in the 400 metres, altogether was 37.10. Now, how many of us would expect it to take 4 times as long to run the 400 metres than the 100 metres? Does that seem intuitively logical? Seems logical to me, doesn't it? But look at the time. That's not the case. When you actually divide that by the 400 metres, what you end up with is a time of 9.27. The average 100 metres ran in the relay is faster than the world record. Why is that? Well, of course, the reason is that all the guys in the team run more than 100 metres. The only thing that runs 100 metres, that goes 100 metres, sorry, is this. A big toilet roll wrapped up in silver paper. Of course, it's the baton. This is what travels 100 metres. And what's the trick, do you think, to effectively running the 400 metres relay? What do you think the trick is to winning? The way you pass the baton from one person to another one. Does that make you think of the chain? Are we not all in that chain? The job that you do is the equivalent of the baton. We pass it over to the next person. That person needs to be able to pick this up. That's what makes the race so quick. The baton passing from one person to the other. Now, when the runner comes up to the line and the other runner sets off, right, does he stand there and wait for it to come? No, he doesn't. They're running at the same time. The guy in front sticks his hand out at the back. What's he waiting for? He's waiting for the bloke from behind to put that baton right in his hand. He's not looking, right? He can't see him, right? But he's expecting it. Yeah? Do you think that calls for a high level of trust? I would think so. Especially if you've just been training for the last 4 years and you really want the gold medal. Do you think you'd be a bit cheesed off if he didn't put it in your hand in the right way? I think I would. And that's what they practice, time after time after time. Now, don't get me wrong here, right? I'm not an athlete. You can tell that by looking at me. But sometimes I get the opportunity to work with people who actually are coaches, and that's what they practice. They practice the changeovers, because on the day, that's what will make the difference. And we believe that that changeover is the equivalent of all those things I've mentioned to you. Pride, respect, camaraderie, it's all about those things. Teamworking, that's what it's about, and that makes the connection. Yeah, that changeover. Now, if you want to see what a good job looks like when it works, I think you can't do much better than that. Do these guys look cheesed off? How do you think it must feel to have achieved that, to do a really good job? Sure, they're tired, but I think all that hard work comes to fruition. And I reckon you can see it from the look on people's faces. Do you see that look when people walk into Aircell on a morning? Is that what you see? Do you see that look on people's faces when they walk out of the plant in the afternoon? Maybe not. Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm not some happy-clappy idiot who's trying to tell you that we should skip into work every morning and, you know, we should give up our holidays and because it's a great place to work. That's not the point. But isn't it the point that most of us are here because we want to earn a living? Is that right? How many of you want to work in a good place to make a living? Doesn't matter who I talk to. I talk to people on the London Underground. I talk to people who work in supermarkets. I was in a big chemical plant up in Redcar the other week, right? And every one of them, nobody wants to come to work and have a miserable time. Yeah, we might rather be lying on a beach, sunning ourselves, covered in baby oil. That's a lovely thought. But at the end of the day, we've got to be here. And so if we are going to be here, let's work or try and create a great environment. And it's not just about the management, which is what I say to you, but what I would say to you is it's not just about you. Yeah? It's about trying to bring all those things together. And that's why we talk about management, we talk about team working, and we talk about you guys as well. And we're going to be sending you a survey over the next few months where we're going to ask you to give your responses to how you feel this organisation works. And that will form part of this whole Dignity at Work event. It's not going to finish today. This is not just an opportunity to say, let's have a day where we wander around and listen to a few guys from outside and do a few wacky things and, you know, get some tinfoil out and that sort of stuff. That's not what it's about. It's about saying, how do we build that dignity over time? And how do we make sure that people engage and enjoy and kind of get something out of the job that they're doing? That's what Dignity at Work's around. And I think most of us would like to feel like this inside. Would like to feel that we do a good job in a good company. Which means that when we leave the organisation, and I mean leave the organisation at the end of the night, we go home not grumbling about what's gone on, but go home and spend the time with the people that are really important. Our families, our children, the people that kind of make up our lives in other ways. That's what I think the payoff is. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. If this is what a good job looks like, anybody remember this? What happened here? The American team dropped the baton. Now, look at these guys' faces. Look at her face. Yeah? That is despair, isn't it? I'm not suggesting that when things don't go right, we cover our faces and end up in a heap. But what I am saying is that's the feeling that I think comes over people when they know the organisation isn't working in the right way and they know that the things that they're doing